Good? Okay, we're good. First of all, I want to thank you all for the ability to come speak here. It's truly an honor to have been invited. I've got a lot of slides, and many of them, everybody here knows rendering, so I'm going to go through some of these very quickly. But I'll be here all week if anybody has any questions. But what I'm going to talk about today is something that my friend Lucas and I have worked on together for some time, and about the importance of rendering and how it fits into the biocircular economy. And we're going to be going over some things here when we look at how we process these co-products from raising animals. We put them back into animal food, and it's a continuous cycle. And that's very important from the environmental standpoint. The other thing that we're really proud of, and I can thank my friend Lucas for initiating this, is where he's working very closely with FAO through the World Renderers Association, and we're really trying to align ourselves with as many of the UN sustainability goals as possible. And as you can see, we really hit on many of them, and I'll come back to many of these as we go. A lot of this is introductory. NARA in North America has been around since 1933, so we were developed very early on in the feed industry. And the way this is the goal number 12, and how we work on that and match it is rendering is an extremely old industry, and all of you know this. You're involved in the business, but it started, we talk about collecting oil from whales, making soap as long as 2,000 years ago, so 2 millennia. We started rendering and using ash and tallow to make soap, and then making candles from tallow as well. This is from the 1800s in the US from a factory. And then during the wars, we were asking the housewives to save their fat for explosives and ammunitions. But for many years, the only use of the proteins were fertilizer. And so we had to develop and do some science to advance that. And in 1901, from Purdue University, they started feeding an animal protein mix to pigs, and it worked out quite well. So we've really advanced the science, and we continue to do that. And we're a really important business. And so the other goal of number 9, looking at innovation. In North America, we have many partnerships, and we partner with ABRA, we partner with EFRA, our colleagues in the EU through the World Renderers Organization, but we partner with pet food companies through the Pet Food Alliance, and we had a speaker on oxidation this morning. So one of the projects we're doing is we're looking for a scientific way to solve the oxidation problem, because PV is a terrible way to measure it, and so we're trying to come up with new technologies to do that. And so we also do science through FPRF, that is our research foundation that we have at NARA, and then we have a research center at Clemson University. So continuing this efforts in innovation and advancement of our industry. And then safety. We are very innovative with safety. We have a voluntary program where members send in samples to get analyzed for salmonella or E. coli or Clostridium. And that's just to prove that the process is safe. They collect that data. It tells them how their process is working, how clean their facilities are, and we can use that with regulatory agencies to promote the safety of render products globally. We do meet WOHA standards for time and temperature for elimination of most emerging diseases. And all of you have seen basic HACCP-type principles that we apply in our rendering facilities. So as we look at economic growth, most of you know this. We have 49% of beef, 44% of a pig, and 37% of a chicken is not typically consumed by humans in the US. Now, different places globally, that's human food. So we don't have that much left over for rendering, but in the US, we're choosing not to eat some of those products. And so it goes into rendering, and you can see the tonnage on an annual basis here. What is rendering? Everybody in this audience knows it. It's just cooking. It's dehydrating, and it's cooking at a temperature where we make the product safe. We know about this story. We take co-products from meat processing, grocery store pickup, food waste, and everything else. We process that product into a safe protein and a safe fat for pet food or animal food or aquaculture use. We have inactivation of bacteria and protozoa. Sorry guys, my slides. And again, many of you know this, you know the basic process of rendering and how all that works. We also are putting more and more magnets in place. Some people are using metal detection now to pick up metals for the safety of the product. Just pictures of finished products that we all know. And then where does everything go? And I won't go through all these slides completely because we're short on time, but it goes from fertilizer to pet food to animal feeds, all the way down to pharmaceutical products for use. So heparin we get from pig intestine to use for human pharmaceuticals. Very similar for beef. We use gallstones and bile for people with gallbladder issues, and fertilizer and feed across the board. Same thing applies for poultry. But rendering is recycling, and we always have been. We're recovering a product that would not be necessarily utilized otherwise. So in North America, we collect around 60 billion pounds. We would fill every landfill in North America in 4 years. Again, 50% of the animal, roughly, especially on the mammalian side, is not chosen to be eaten by humans in developed countries. I don't like to call this waste. I don't like to call this byproducts. It's not. It's something that's left over by our choice. In other parts of the world, this is consumed. We need to remember that. So what are our goals, and how do we keep cities sustainable? Picking up all the UCO, the restaurant grease and trap grease. If that goes into the municipal sewer systems, we're going to have backups and clogs and big issues. So we need to pick that up, and that's a service we provide to the municipalities. That's very important, and it's a good use for us. We pick up over 4 billion pounds of UCO in the U.S. So we have a lot of complaints out there, and so this is a quote from one of my favorite presidents, is complaining without proposing a solution is whining. And we can't do that. We have to have solutions. So I talked a little bit about the innovation, what we're working on. How do we focus on sustainability in the biocircular economy? You've seen that already. So good health. We are part of the One Health concept, a very important part. And we fit in it very well. We help protect the environment. We help protect human health. That also helps protect animal health and wildlife health and exposure and extension of diseases between the different environments and ecological systems. If you look, this is old data from UK Department of Health during the BSE crisis. Rendering is the best solution for eliminating that product that comes from a diseased animal. There are issues with every other solution that's provided. So rendering works, and we have to prevent this. We cannot do this any longer, especially with a disease outbreak. All we're doing here is allowing birds, wildlife, and other vectors to spread this disease, and we cannot do that. So we're a gatekeeper. We're very important for the One Health concept and overall sustainability of the environment and keeping people safe and healthy. We recover water. We have invested heavily into water treatment facilities. We make 4 billion gallons of new clean water and put it back into the environment in a year in North America. That is a huge amount of water that's cleaned, processed, and placed back into the environment. So we actually manufacture the water. We also capture the odor emissions and the gases that come off the cooking process. So we aren't emitting those into the environment. So we collect those to eliminate exposure and increases in greenhouse gas emissions. Clean energy production. This is not as much my area, but the biofuel industry is great. We look very good at it. As you look, we have the best savings on greenhouse gas emissions through waste vegetable oil and UCO products. We also, this is from the California Air Board, we have the lowest scores. And it's really interesting. We ship UCO from California all the way to Singapore to be refined. It comes back to California to be used as a renewable fuel, and it still beats everyone else on the score for the carbon intensity. So we do really well with that. And then replacing other nutrients. We work well as a fertilizer. Lucas has developed this slide with Abra, and we can recycle protein and use it as a fertilizer. We replace phosphates. Plus, our product works for organic, and there's less runoff. It decomposes more slowly over time. It releases the nutrients to the plants in an even, slow fashion, and we don't have runoff of phosphorus, we don't have nitrates going in the air or anything like that. So it is a very good solution. And then this is from our friends at EPRA. If we compare soybean meal at 100%, you can see where pork and poultry processed animal proteins rank as far as carbon footprint. This is a little bit unfair to soybean meal because they get hit very heavily because of the land use calculation. So we have to do better about getting that into a regional situation. No poverty and zero hunger. Rendering is the largest food loss prevention and food waste industry there is. The largest by a long margin. Everyone is working on reducing food waste and preventing food loss. EPA has us in their hierarchy. If you see, we rank 3rd and 4th on uses for industrial and feeding animals. In North America, we do over 31 million tons. Composting is needed as well for the vegetable products. I can't put lettuce in my cooker. At the same time, it's not good to compost animal proteins. So we need both of them to help with the goals we're setting for the food loss achievement. This is part of what I'm talking about. If we try to compost animal proteins, or if we take them through a digester, we emit more greenhouse gases through those mechanisms than we do through rendering. In rendering, we capture those. So we have up to 85% less greenhouse gas emissions through rendering. So if we're talking about animal products, that needs to go through rendering. Composting is the perfect outlet for anything from a vegetable source. So we need both, but if we're serious about the environment, we can't take animal proteins to composters or digesters. This is just another schematic showing that 90% of potential greenhouse gases are captured and contained through rendering, where the other two methodologies let them emit. And then who are we partnering with on our goals? Thanks to Lucas's hard work with WRO and ABRA, we are partnering with FAO and LEAP, which is the Environmental Sustainability Program through the FAO. Lucas and one of my colleagues got to attend the first ever Sustainable Livestock Conference last year. I want to repeat that. All the years that FAO's been in existence, last year was the first ever livestock sustainability conference. So we're hitting them hard over the head to get them to catch up, because their other pillars are great, but we can't forget about livestock. Livestock's not bad. It's part of the total combination. So we look at life cycle assessment. That's becoming more important. Many of your customers are asking you about this. They're asking for numbers. We can't just say we're green anymore. We have to have the data. We have to have the numbers. So in North America, we just launched an effort. We're doing a project to calculate the life cycle analysis for all of our rendered products in North America. All of those ingredients numbers will be placed into the GFLI database, which is following the LEAP guidelines and rules. So when you go to a nutritionist, you can show them these numbers, and they can actually, and they're starting to, they can incorporate it into their formulation program and show which diet is more sustainable for them. So we will have these numbers right after the first of the year, and they will be aligned and in place in the GFLI database. We were one of the first ones, at least in North America, out of anybody else in the feed industry. We did this calculator in 2010. So we have life cycle data, but it's using an older model. So now we're going to do a model that aligns with LEAP. So we're continuously updating, innovating. And this is another point. When we talk about life cycle analysis and what you get out of these products, we need to look at what energy is provided from ingredients. If you look at biodigestion and biogas, we only get 5,000 calories. If we look at rendering, we get 6,000 alone from the protein, plus an additional almost 17,000 from the fat. So those are very, very important numbers from a calorie calculation standpoint. And we are the best method when we're talking about animal products. We're the most environmentally sound. We're the safest. So I'm going to go through a little bit of data very quickly, but I'm going to spend just a minute on aquaculture. Life below water. This is another UN sustainability goal that many of you are already working in, and it fits our goals very well. We all have seen these graphs. Aquaculture is growing. Fish meal production's not. How are we going to meet these demands? We're going to do it through render products. And if you see from North America, our exports are going to these developing aquaculture markets. So it's a very important aspect for us. But here's part of the important part. Your aquaculture customers, they're very focused on sustainability. How do we help them achieve their numbers? Well, this is some data we got from North America. Gelatin puts out the most CO2, but if you look at our products, they're very low. They're right in the middle there. Similar graph, if we look at per amino acid supplied in the diet, all of the rendered products have a very low greenhouse gas emissions. So that's very important for your customers and their future sustainability. And then this is a difficult graph, but the big ball on the top is gelatin. All of the little ones at the bottom with the low emissions, those are all rendered products. So thank you for what you're doing, because you're making sustainable ingredients that can go back and fit this biocircular economy. And aquaculture is one of the best stories we have, because we feed shrimp, we feed fish down here in the Americas. That product gets shipped back up to the US so the humans can consume it. So it's exactly what we're talking about with biocircular economy. So greenhouse gas emission, the green bar is a traditional diet. The light green bar is one where we've replaced certain plant proteins with animal proteins, and we get those reductions in greenhouse gas emissions every time. This data is very busy, but for all the amino acids, there's almost always a reduction. I think there's 2 exceptions on this whole graph where we did not reduce that. And then the same graph for tilapia, we've got data for shrimp, everything else. Terrestrial animals aren't any different. Another UN Go, life on land. We have here poultry, different poultry and swine. All the graphs are the same story as you saw previously with aquaculture. Rendered products are a great fit. We don't use the land like crops do, and we reduce the overall greenhouse gas emission when we go into these diets. Again, when we formulate diets with and without rendered products, we see the changes. We continually get a reduction every time. So this data and these facts are important for your customers, and we have to look at this and use this as a selling tool. I'm going to go through pet food briefly. It follows the same exact trend, but pet food does not, unfortunately, fit in the biocircular economy. It is going out of the loop. That's not coming back to really feed humans. Now, it does provide emotional support and friendship for humans, so I think pets are important. The pictures are actually of my dogs at home, but going back, as we look at biocircular economy, this is where we're at in rendering. And this is what we need to sell. And we need to get this data and utilize these numbers to help our customers achieve their goals, because they're being demanded by their customers to reach a certain goal as well. So I think I got done. Hopefully it didn't go over too long. I'm going to need a little help with translation, but if there's time, I'm happy to try to answer any questions.